Scorpio, come closer for a moment. Something inside you has been whispering, hasn't it? A quiet vibration, a subtle shift, a feeling so deep in your bones that you haven't spoken it out loud. But your soul knows. Your spirit has felt it. And today, I'm going to say the words you've been waiting for. Words that mark the end of one of the hardest chapters of your life. It's finally over. The cycle that drained you, broke you, tested you, stretched you, transformed you, that season is done. You will never face that same pain again. Not in that form, not in that pattern, not as the version of you who once accepted it. Today marks the beginning of an entirely new life. You didn't land on this message by accident. Divine timing placed it in your path on purpose, right here on November 15th, right when your energy is shifting into a phase of renewal, clarity, and spiritual sovereignty. If your heart feels heavy but strangely hopeful, if your body feels tired but your spirit feels like it's waking up, if your intuition has been nudging you with signs, dreams, numbers, synchronicities, then Scorpio, what you're experiencing is not confusion. It is confirmation. This is your moment of release. Because Scorpio, you've carried storms that would have broken the average person. You've held weight that was never meant to be yours alone. You fought silent battles no one else saw. You were the backbone for others while carrying cracks no one noticed. You kept moving even when your heart was tired of beating. And through all of it, even when you felt forgotten by the world, you were not forgotten by the divine. Every tear, every prayer, every silent night where you whispered, "I can't do this anymore." Heaven heard you. The universe didn't ignore you. Your ancestors didn't abandon you. And now, finally, the cycle that once held you captive has dissolved. Before we step deeper into this message, into the layers of healing, energy, astrology, and divine timing, there is something important, I must say, to protect your journey, your heart, and your sovereignty. What I'm about to share is not a fixed prophecy carved in stone. It is a reflection, a symbolic mirror of a potential timeline, a story whispered into the universe for those who are meant to hear it. If it resonates with your spirit, if it awakens something deep within you, take what you need from it. If it does not, simply let it pass by like a cloud. Not every message is meant for every soul, and your intuition knows which ones belong to you. So breathe for a moment, let your shoulders drop, let your spirit settle, and let us begin. Because Scorpio, you didn't get here easily. The version of you listening to this today is not the same as the version who entered this year. You've undergone a transformation so profound that even your aura has changed. You've shed identities. You've broken generational patterns. You've walked away from cycles you once thought you'd never escape. You've faced truths you used to avoid. You've healed wounds no one apologized for. And while others may only see your calmness now, they have no idea the storms you survived to earn it. You walked through darkness, but you were not consumed by it. You walked through fire, but you are not burned. You are refined. And that is why this moment is so sacred. The spiritual graduation you've been waiting for is here. The karmic loop that repeated itself in different faces, different relationships, different situations, that loop has closed. Not because life magically changed overnight, but because you changed. You no longer vibrate at the frequency of the wound. You no longer attract the lessons meant to teach you self-worth through pain. You no longer tolerate what you once quietly endured. Your energy has evolved, and the universe is matching you accordingly. If you've been feeling a strange lightness, even beneath the sadness, this is why. When a karmic cycle ends, your spirit grieves and rejoices at the same time. You may feel detached from things that once held your heart hostage. You may feel neutral toward people who used to trigger deep reactions. You may feel tired, but the type of tired that comes from completing a long journey, not the despairing kind. Your soul knows that you are free. For years, Scorpio, you defined strength by how much you could survive. But true strength now reveals itself in a new way, through how much peace you are willing to accept, through how gently you treat yourself, through how bravely you choose softness over self-sacrifice, through how confidently you choose alignment instead of attachment. The era of overgiving, overfunctioning, and over-explaining is done. You don't need to break yourself to prove your love. You don't need to shrink to make others comfortable. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You don't need to apologize for your standards. You don't need to chase, beg, bend, or bleed for connection. The version of you who did that no longer exists. And if recently you've been noticing certain relationships suddenly feel distant, certain conversations feel forced, certain people fall quiet or disappear, Scorpio, that is not loss. That is alignment. When your vibration rises, anything that is not equal to your new frequency naturally slips away. Not because you are unworthy of them, but because your soul evolved past the places where they remain. The pain you once repeated is no longer available to you because you no longer resonate with it. Pluto, your ruling planet, has been completing a karmic cycle that began years ago. This is not small energy. Pluto does not destroy what is real. It destroys what is false. And the old patterns you clung to were built on survival, fear, and emotional scarcity. Those patterns have collapsed, and in their place stands a version of you who knows how to see through illusions, who no longer romanticizes red flags, who no longer mistakes intensity for intimacy, who no longer allows guilt to override intuition. You are not entering a new chapter. You are entering an entirely new book. And here's the truth the universe wants you to receive today. You will never go through that pain again. The pain that shaped you, the pain that broke you open, the pain that forced you to meet the deepest parts of yourself. That particular pain served its purpose. It is complete. It will not follow you. You've completed the loop. And now your reality shifts. The world around you begins reorganizing itself to support who you have become, not who you used to be. People will interact with you differently. Opportunities that once ignored you will begin seeking you. Love will show up with softness instead of confusion. Finances will reflect the worth you've finally claimed. And peace, the type of peace you used to chase, will begin to find you effortlessly. Because you are different now. And life responds to who you are, not who you were. Scorpio, this new beginning is not something you step into. It is something you rise into. Something your soul has already prepared for. Something aligned with your truth, your strength, your healing, and your sovereignty. Take a breath, you made it. The hardest part is behind you. Scorpio, now that you've stepped into the truth that the past cycle is complete, let's move deeper into what this new beginning truly means for you. Because a new life doesn't simply appear in front of you like a sudden sunrise. It unfolds slowly, softly, purposefully, the way dawn spreads across a quiet horizon. And even though you may still feel remnants of the old heaviness, even though you may still have moments where the past tries to echo inside you, your soul already knows you are not the same person who once tolerated that pain. The door behind you has closed, and you are walking forward with a strength you don't fully recognize yet. You see, Scorpio, endings rarely show up with fireworks. Most of the time they happen with a whisper, an emotional disconnect, an intuitive nudge, a realization that the old way no longer fits the new you. And in the weeks leading up to today, November 15th, you've been experiencing those subtle shifts. A certain person's words didn't sting the way they used to. A situation that once triggered anxiety suddenly felt irrelevant. A memory that once made you ache now feels like a chapter from a book you no longer identify with. These are not coincidences. They are signs that the emotional contract you once held with that pain has dissolved. And now, as the energy of mid-November unfolds, your soul is preparing to step into emotional territory it hasn't visited in a long time. Peace. Not temporary peace, Not peace that demands self-sacrifice, but peace that stays. Peace that surrounds you. Peace that you don't have to fight for. This shift will show up in ways you don't expect. You may notice a new softness in your mornings, as if your spirit is finally breathing without restriction. You may feel yourself moving slower, more intentionally, choosing rest without guilt. You may suddenly crave environments that nourish your nervous system, quiet spaces, nature, soft music, warm light. You may find yourself uninterested in drama, arguments, or anything that drains your emotional field. This is the energy of someone who has outgrown chaos. And Scorpio, you have outgrown chaos. Your soul once believed that intensity was proof of connection, but now you are learning that clarity, consistency, and calmness are the real markers of love. You once fought for people who would not fight for you. You once carried relationships on your back. You once stayed in situations long after the universe whispered, "It's time to go." But not anymore. You no longer equate suffering with loyalty. You no longer associate self-abandonment with love. You no longer feel obligated to shrink to be accepted. This is the freedom Pluto has been carving into your spirit for years. A freedom that required you to walk through fire so you could learn the difference between a bond and a burden. And now that you know that difference, you can't unknow it. You can't return to who you used to be. You can't fit into spaces you've spiritually outgrown. You can't dim your intuition to accommodate someone else's denial. The cycle is over, and your rebirth has already begun. But let's talk about what comes next, because this new beginning will not be subtle. It will not be small. Scorpio transformations never are. When your soul rises, it rises with force, and the universe begins rearranging everything around you to match the new frequency you carry. One of the first things you will notice is this: your boundaries will strengthen without effort. You won't have to force yourself to say no. It will flow naturally. You won't over-explain your needs. You won't apologize for protecting your spirit. You won't carry guilt for removing yourself from situations that don't honor your truth. You will simply choose yourself, without hesitation, and without the internal war you used to fight. You will also notice your intuition becoming louder, clearer, almost eerily accurate. Dreams may return with messages. Numbers may appear repeatedly. 111 for new beginnings, 444 for protection, 1010 for closing cycles, 222 for alignment. Conversations may feel guided. Decisions may feel intuitive. You will sense when someone's energy is off, when an opportunity feels right, when a door is meant to close, and when one is meant to open. You are stepping into your spiritual power, the one you had before life tried to dim it. Spirit will begin leading you toward people whose souls resonate with yours. Not trauma bonds, not karmic lessons, but balanced, emotionally mature connections. These are people who speak honestly, show up consistently, and care without conditions. You will be drawn to relationships where you feel safe, not judged, seen, not used, valued, not tolerated. And when love arrives, and it will, it won't be chaotic. It won't be confusing. It won't be inconsistent. It will feel like exhaling after years of holding your breath. It will feel like home, not survival. But Scorpio, your new beginning doesn't revolve only around relationships. It also opens doors in your personal and material life. Opportunities that once passed you by will start reappearing. Projects that stalled will begin to move. Finances will stabilize and grow as you release the emotional weight that once blocked abundance. You may even feel pulled toward a new passion, career path, or purpose, something that aligns with your authentic self rather than the version of you shaped by pain. Because when the soul heals, the life heals. When the heart aligns, the path aligns. When the cycle ends, the blessings begin. But perhaps the most beautiful part of this new chapter is this: you will start loving yourself in ways you never have before. not in the surface-level sense of confidence, but in the deep, spiritual sense of self-recognition. You will trust your decisions. You will honor your feelings. You will stop betraying your intuition. You will forgive yourself for staying too long, for trying too hard, for loving too deeply. And you will speak to yourself with a softness you once reserved only for others. Scorpio, this is your return to yourself. You are no longer surviving your life, you are beginning to live it. And as you walk deeper into this new beginning, you will realize something powerful. The version of you who endured all that pain is gone. But the wisdom remains. The strength remains. The resilience remains. The light remains. You are stepping into a season where the universe meets you with blessings instead of battles. A season where you don't have to force, chase, beg, or prove. A season where peace becomes your baseline. A season where joy finds you again. A season where you finally feel safe inside your own heart. So take another breath, Scorpio. Let it fill your chest. Let it expand your energy. Let it settle your spirit. Repeat this truth softly to yourself. It's finally over. The cycle has ended. A new beginning is here. Because, Scorpio, this time, you're not rising from pain. You're rising into purpose, into alignment, into destiny, into the life your soul has been waiting for. And now, it is yours.